I'm going to be using all these beautiful roses that also smell wonderful into rose water. There's a quick way and then there's a longer way. I'm going to show you the quick way first, and then I'm going to give myself a shampoo and I'm going to use it for rinse water. You're going to find out with me, does it really make a difference in my hair? I know it's going to smell wonderful. So that and enough is to make me want to use rose water as a final rinse for my hair. And then I'll show you the longer way on how to make your rose water. Now, there is the perfect time to pick your roses, and it's not now. You see it's really damp right now. It's foggy here. So you want to pick them early in the morning after the dew has dried from the roses, but before the sun has come out really strong. So I'm going to wait for the fog to lift, and then I'll be back and I'm going to harvest all these roses.
All I have needs, I have not provided.
The sun has finally come out, and I'm going to go ahead and pick the roses, and then we'll head on inside. I'll do the quick way first, and then later on today I'll do the one that takes a longer bit of time and effort. They're so pretty. So you need a pot with a lid, and I've sterilized the jar that it's going to go into, as well as the lid, if I can get it out of there. You're going to need distilled water. Now, I have a Berkey. You don't want to use the water from a Berkey. It filters out the bad stuff and leaves the good stuff in, which is minerals. You don't want minerals in this water. So as much as I love Berkey and the filters and, you know, the benefits you get from it, this is not the time to use your Berkey water. You do need to go get distilled water. So the next thing I need to do is I'm going to throw this water out, and then I'm going to rinse some of my rose petals in some cold water. I don't see any stems in here, so I'm going to go ahead and put these in the pot. So now I've got, maybe 1/3 of the way up full of rose petals. And I'm going to pour just enough distilled water into that to just barely cover it. I turn the heat to medium, and you're going to bring the water to a simmer. You don't want to bring it to a rolling boil, or even a boil that can't be stirred down. You don't want that kind of a boil. You just want these to simmer. And as soon as they simmer, I'm going to take it off the heat. Now, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stand here and watch, because I don't want to overcook these petals. It's really, really important to just until they're simmering, and then you're going to remove them from the heat. I think putting a lid on is a good way to keep the scent down inside. I do that when I make my teas in the morning. I keep the lids on so that more of that flavor stays with the tea. So I'm assuming that the same is true with rose petals. They look like they're about halfway to simmer. The appearance of the rose petals has changed somewhat. So while I'm waiting for that to come to a simmer, I'm sterilizing a funnel and a strainer here for when I'm going to strain it into this jar. I thought, well, I've gone to all that trouble to make sure everything's sterilized, and then I'm putting it through a funnel that's multi-purpose and a strainer that's strained all kinds of things. So I just take the extra step to go ahead and get it sterilized. Okay, that is just now coming to a simmer. And I don't even want to take the time to move the camera over here. That's how crucial the timing is. As soon as you see it coming to a simmer, take it off the heat and just let it cool down. You don't need to do anything else. Don't be messing with it, crushing the leaves. You don't need to do that. I washed my hair and then I put conditioner on it, rinsed all the conditioner out, and then a final rinse of rose water and water. It was half and half. And I was a little bit worried because I normally leave some conditioner in my hair because my hair has become very unruly as I've gotten older and dry and brittle. So I was a little bit worried that it was going to be really unruly and dry because when I did put that final rinse of rose water on, it felt like it needed conditioner. But honestly, I'm really pleased. This is how my hair normally looks after I follow the old routine. And it looks the same to me. So apparently what the rose water does is I guess from what I've read, it lays the cuticle back down. So I think that rinsing my hair with rose water just might be my new routine now. So we're going to go on to do the distilled version of rose water. So the reason why you want to distill your rose water instead of just steaming it like I did in the first part of the video is it will last for a very long time if you're careful to have everything sterilized. So you're going to need a large pot with a lid. I think that's a little bit too hot to pick up. And can you see how it concaves? So it's really important that your lid has that concave so that the steam that comes up off of your rose petals is going to roll down and drip off and back into a bowl that you've got rigged up on the inside here. So I have a bowl, a glass bowl. That's important. You need to have a glass or a ceramic bowl. And what I've done is I've sterilized the pot and this bowl. I don't know if that's necessary, but I'm sterilizing everything else because I really, really want the rose water to last a long time and not spoil. So here's my pot, here's my bowl. It doesn't seem like I'm going to be able to put much around there. But what you're going to do is fill up the sides with the rose petals all the way around. Okay, I want to dry that out because the only water I want on the inside here is distilled rose water. I don't even want distilled water here. Now this is the part we have to be really, really careful too. You only want water into this area right here, and it has to be distilled water. So if I spill more in here, I'll just have to wipe it back up. Let's see if I can coordinate this. So I want it to just barely cover the level of the rose petals. That took quite a bit. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay, well, how do you keep that down there? That's funny. I don't know how to remedy that. That's just too funny. Okay, well, here's the solution I came up with. You can see it is floating a little bit. See the petals that are underneath it? But if I smash this down a bit, I'm not crushing them, I'm just packing them in. The water is pretty much to the level of all the petals. Well, that was fun. Okay, so here is my concave lid. Now my lid has a little vent hole right there, and I was trying to figure out how am I going to keep that or plug up that hole. So I got a Q-tip and pulled off some of the cotton and fit it down in there to clog it up. So, or fill it in, plug it up. So now I'm going to turn this on medium to medium low. I don't want to bring this up and just boil it. I want it to just be simmering. So it's going to take a few minutes for it to get to that point. And at that point, we'll do stage 2 of distilling your rose water. So the water's starting to turn. The petals are getting wilted. I'll return that. And now it's gonna make more sense for you to see why did I plug that hole. So first of all, you need to have the lid as tightly fitting as possible. So position it on there the best you can. And now we're going to add ice cubes. That is going to speed up the process of this condensation forming. And as this water melts from the ice cubes, I'm going to siphon it off with the meat baster here and just suck up the water off of there. And then replace the ice as it melts. We'll turn the heat off. Lift up the lid here. And this is what we have. Carefully put it here. So you see it's pretty clear. So if you've made your own rose water, I would love to hear from you. What do you do with your rose water? Which method do you use? And if you've never made your rose water, then what method do you think you would do, and what would you use it for? So I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I think that this second method was way too much trouble for what you get. So compare this one to these. And I already used about 1/2 cup from these two. So from the same amount of rose petals. So let me see if I can get this off. Well, it doesn't have a real rose smell. I'm sure that's because of the type of roses I have. Compared to this one, well, honestly, this one does have a deeper, more pronounced smell. So a distilled rose water does have a little bit deeper smell to it. But I'm just fine with the difference. It's not worth it to me. So I would use the first method if I want rose water. And now I know that I can use just half of what I picked this morning and get a gracious plenty. So if your roses are blooming from spring through fall, you should have enough roses to keep yourself supplied with rose water. Now, if I made a ton of rose water at one time, I would make ice cubes and then put them in the freezer, and they'll last a long time that way. So you don't have to worry, is it going to spoil? Is it going to keep? So this big jar here, I was very careful to keep everything sterile and not the little jar. As far as the distilling process and every precaution I went through, some of it got thrown out the window at the end when I was trying to figure out what bowl to put in there. So if I was to do the distilled again, I would use an inverted bowl and then put the bowl that's going to catch the water on top of that. And I would do smaller batches. I don't know. It just didn't seem like it's something I would do again. I would definitely do this again. You bring it to a simmer, you set it off to the side, and you strain it out. One thing that I would do differently with the simmered rose water is once I got all the water strained off the rose petals, I would put those rose petals into a very clean cotton cloth or several layers of cheesecloth, and I would wring out more of the rose water. I think it might be a little bit more concentrated if I were to do that. So I would love to hear your comments. I do read them all. I may not have the time to answer all of them, but I try. So give it a green thumbs up, and please subscribe. I've got lots of gardening videos that will help you in your garden.
Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto